not having any growth as a hero to finally retiring a legend. This is what went wrong with the Arrowverse. To start off strong, we have Supergirl. Right off the bat, Supergirl seemed to have a few glaring issues. She doesn't really ever evolve as a character, and doesn't seem to have an arc. We see her go straight into her persona as Supergirl from the very first problem her city seems to have.
What do you think you're doing?
Pair that with the fact she doesn't ever go anywhere with her relationships. And she kinda seems like stale white bread. What should be the second most powerful character of the show, Martian Manhunter, doesn't really use his powers, or at least the good ones, like ever. Why?
Call me the Martian Manhunter.
At first it was understandable, he was in hiding. But he isn't anymore. So what gives?
This ends right now.
Speaking of not using your full potential, our next Arrowverse show was plagued with it. That's right, it's Batwoman. Right out of the gate, if you are a fan of Batman, they tried to make you not like it starting with episode 1. Instead of empowering Batwoman through her own feats and personal strengths, they instead just basically said Batman sucks and a girl can do it better.
Oh my god! Huge fan.
The writers of the show in the first season made it sound like Batman straight up just gave up on the city. Our favorite Cape Crusader would never do that.
I'm vengeance.
So it understandably left a lot of people confused. Everyone would be better off with a good rendition of Batwoman, but we just didn't get it. Even in later seasons, when Batwoman should be cementing herself and her abilities, she is kind of just gimping herself constantly, taking a backseat to deal with Nightwing and his issues. They never really feel like the powerful and confident characters they're supposed to. On the flip side, their heroic alter egos are complete and brimming with confidence. We are talking about Arrow, the show that started it all.
Mr. Queen spent 5 years on a deserted island.
People there tortured me.
So what could have possibly gone wrong? It started off dark and gritty, like Batman, which was actually kind of awesome. But then it started to snowball with tons of new characters and plots. The introduction of Barry Allen wasn't too bad until you realize he could have solved all of Oliver's problems in a flash. Fans and critics alike think that Arrow went really wrong when it got really convoluted.
What happened to you on that island? You're about to find
And
out.
that just doesn't go for Arrow either. The whole Arrowverse has so many plot points and characters to keep up with that we don't have enough time to sit through it all, and it becomes dizzying. When you have 6 series all having crossovers and you have to watch each one to understand the show you are focusing on, it can start to get pretty confusing.
Sometimes you just have to slow down.
And when it comes to confusion, you only need to mention a little time travel. That's easy when we have The Flash. Barry Allen, our boy wonder. The problems with The Flash began early. Barry didn't seem to care how or when he used his powers. At all. He's so wildly destructive, he was just erasing people from existence, and the team just came back into the lab the next day as if nothing happened. Not cool, Barry.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. This was not supposed to happen.
Couple that with the fact his main rivals are just spooky speedsters with hidden identities, and it starts to get old and tired. Barry also ruins other shows on the Arrowverse too. If they ever had a problem they can't get a handle on, just call the Flash and it will be fixed all quick-like. And it works the other way too. If the Arrowverse has a problem or menace they can't solve without massive losses, why aren't they just calling Barry to fix it?
So this is kind of becoming an annual thing, huh?
God, I hope not.
A real head scratcher. Head scratching is pretty much all you do on this show. That's right, we're talking about Legends of Tomorrow. It's funny, we just went over the time travel problem with Barry, and then we get into this group of ragtag time crusaders. It's well known that the Legends of Tomorrow are bad at their jobs. I mean, really bad.
Excuse me, you can't just go around roasting people.
Why not?
You ever heard of due process, rule of law?
No.
They mess up the timeline more than they protect it, and when they do, it's just laughed off and roll credits. At least Barry gets sent to the Speed Force. These guys just go have a beer and call it a good day's work. We get it, it's supposed to be funny, but they aren't even doing the job they were supposed to be doing anymore. Now they're fighting mythical creatures, recruiting exorcists, and it's just all over the place. Let's talk about a show that isn't all over the place at all. It's quite solid. Superman and Lois. The Man of Steel on the CW is actually beloved and a fan favorite. It doesn't have the glaring flaws, weird time loops, and problems of too many heroes. It is just a feel-good kind of Seventh Heaven-esque telling of what Superman would be if he settled down with Lois and had a family.
A new fortress.
I thought it was time to make one available to the whole family. Lois, Jordan, and Jonathan.
On its own, Superman and Lois seems to be a pretty great down-to-earth Superman rendition. But it is completely disconnected from the Arrowverse. And that is a good thing for Superman and Lois. But in scenes of The Flash where they have seats for the Justice League, Soup's seat is sitting really empty. So we may never see Superman interact with the Arrowverse ever again. Speaking of never interacting with the Arrowverse, get a load of Black Lightning. Did you know that Black Lightning is the highest rated Arrowverse show? I know, it's true. It's sitting comfortably at 96% on Rotten Tomatoes and is way up there in the ratings. So what went wrong with it? Well, almost nothing. It never had a real origin story in episode 1, and it simply starts off with him kicking ass and taking names.
Now you just pissed me off.
That isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely outside of what we're used to when it comes to CW shows. While there isn't really a problem yet, there definitely could be in the future.
We got a problem. I don't like being called out my name.
The challenge with Black Lightning is that there isn't much comic book source material to draw from. So if they don't pull into the Arrowverse, they better hope the writers at CW do him justice. When it comes to doing a superhero justice, we've gotta talk about Constantine.
This one in the wrist.
John Constantine has been all over the place. Like, literally. Did you know that he had his own TV show on NBC?
You were working as an exorcist and master of the dark arts?
That says master, does it?
And while fans seem to enjoy watching the detective, the series ratings simply didn't foot the bill. That's why after only one season, NBC pulled the plug. In the CW Arrowverse, Constantine has been seen in many crossovers. He's been seen in The Arrow, The Flash, and Batwoman. Mostly though, he was a staple in Legends of Tomorrow. After several seasons in the Arrowverse, Matt Ryan, who plays John, said that it was time to say goodbye to the beloved character. After a very unique revival following NBC's cancellation, Ryan said he was able to fully flesh out the role, and there wasn't anything more to be done. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is what went wrong with the Arrowverse.